You're standing in tall grass 100,000 years ago. The light is almost gone. Somewhere behind you, something heavy shifts its weight, and when you turn, you see two eyes catching the last of the sun. A cave lion. 700 pounds of muscle and teeth, and it is looking directly at you. You have no gun, no knife, not even a sharpened stick, because you dropped it running. Your teeth are flat, your nails are useless. You can't outrun it, you can't outclimb it, and you cannot fight it. By every measure that matters in that grass, you are already dead. And yet here you are, reading this, breathing, which means somewhere back down your family line, thousands of times in a row, someone standing exactly where you're standing did not die. So how? How did the softest, slowest, weakest large animal on the landscape survive a world where everything had claws, everything had fangs, and everything was faster than you? Let's start with what was actually out there in the dark, because it's so much worse than you think. In 1924, a researcher named Raymond Dart pulled a small skull out of the rock in South Africa. It belonged to a child, an early human ancestor, maybe 3 years old. And driven through the bottom of the eye sockets were two neat punctures, spaced exactly to match the talons of a large bird of prey. That child wasn't lost, wasn't sick, wasn't unlucky in some freak accident. That child was food, taken from above, and the skull is one of the oldest pieces of hard evidence we have of the real relationship between early humans and the animal kingdom. For most of our story, we were not the hunters. We were the hunted. And the things hunting us were nightmares. Start with the cats. Saber-toothed predators built like tanks, with canines longer than your hand, that didn't chase you down but waited, motionless, near the water you had to drink from, and detonated out of cover the instant you got close. One bite to the throat and it was over before you understood it had started. Cave lions that hunted in groups and were bigger than anything in Africa today. Scimitar cats. Giant cheetahs on open ground where you had nowhere to hide. Then the things that weren't cats. Cave hyenas the size of a lioness, hunting in coordinated packs of 20 or more, with jaws that could crush your thigh bone to get at the marrow inside. And they did their hunting at night in the exact hours your weak eyes couldn't see. The short-faced bear, standing well over 10 feet when it rose up, built with long legs for running down prey across open country. A pure meat-eater that could cover ground faster than you can imagine something that size moving. Crocodiles longer than a truck sitting in the rivers you had no choice but to visit every single day of your life. Wolves in packs. And overhead, the eagles that took the Tang child. Your ancestors went, something was built to kill them. And here's the part that should genuinely stop you. You had nothing to answer with. A chimpanzee, your closest living relative, is somewhere around 3 times stronger than you are, has real fangs, and can be up a tree in seconds. And chimps still get killed by leopards on a regular basis. You are weaker than that. Slower than that. You can't see in the dark, your sense of smell is a joke, your hearing is mediocre, and you walk upright, which makes you visible across a whole valley. On top of all that, your babies scream constantly and can't so much as walk for a full year after they're born. If you were designing an animal to get eaten, you'd design a human. By every biological rule, this species should have been a brief, tragic footnote. Instead, every predator on that list is extinct, and you're still here. So something happened. Let's talk about what. The first thing that saved you was fire. In Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, there's evidence of controlled fire going back roughly 1 million years. Ash and burned bone deep inside the cave where no wildfire could reach. And fire rewrote the rules overnight. A campfire throws out a ring of safety maybe 30 feet across, and inside that ring, predators will not come. It's not learned. It's hardwired into them, so deep that animals raised in captivity who've never seen a flame will still back away from the smell of smoke. That fire gave you light in a world where your eyes failed you. It gave your hairless body warmth in climates it was never built for. And most importantly, it gave you time. Before fire, the useful day ended at sunset, and you spent the whole black night frozen in place, waiting to find out if you'd survive it. After fire, you got 3-4 extra hours every single night, inside the light, while the things that wanted to eat you paced somewhere out past the edge of the glow, unwilling to cross it. That's when the talking happened. The planning, the teaching. Fire didn't just keep you warm, it bought you the hours in which you became dangerous. The second thing that saved you was your body's one hidden superpower, and it's not the one you'd guess. You are a terrible sprinter. A big cat can hit 30 miles an hour before you've taken 3 steps. But almost nothing on Earth can do what you can do, which is keep going. Humans are endurance machines. We sweat across bare skin to shed heat while we move, and almost every animal we hunted couldn't. So our ancestors invented something no other predator could copy: the persistence hunt. You don't sprint after the animal, you just follow it. At a jog. For hours. It bolts, you keep coming. It stops to cool down, you appear, and it bolts again, and it cannot cool down while it's running. 3 hours, 4, 6, and eventually the animal simply overheats and collapses, and you walk up to a creature far stronger and faster than you, and finish it with a rock. You didn't have to be fast, you had to be relentless, and you were the most relentless thing alive. The third thing that saved you was the machine between your ears, tuned to see patterns in everything. A broken twig meant something passed through here. Scuffed dirt meant something fed here. The depth and shape of a track told you what left it, how big it was, how long ago it moved. Your ancestors turned that pattern reading on the predators themselves. They learned the schedules of the things hunting them. They learned that the ambush cats worked near water at dusk, that certain bears were solitary and territorial, that fire held the lions back. They watched, they remembered, and, critically, they told each other, so that the knowledge one person paid for in blood became something the whole group carried, and something the next generation was born already knowing. But none of those is the real answer. Fire, endurance, pattern recognition, those kept individuals alive a little longer. The thing that actually saved the species was each other, and we have the bones to prove it. In Dmanisi, in the country of Georgia, researchers found the skull of a human ancestor who had lost every single tooth years before death. The bone of the jaw had healed smooth over the empty sockets, which takes a long time, which means this individual lived for years with no teeth at all. In the wild, that is a death sentence. A predator with no teeth starves. But a human with no teeth can survive if someone else softens their food, or shares what they've chewed, or brings them something they can swallow. Someone kept that person alive. In Shanidar Cave in Iraq, there's a Neanderthal who lived to around 40 with a withered arm, damage to one eye, and severe wear across his body. He could not have hunted. He could barely have defended himself. And his group kept him anyway for years. No predator does this. No lion feeds a toothless lion. This is the thing that made us different. We didn't just move in groups. We took care of the members who couldn't contribute, which meant we kept the ones who held the knowledge, the memory, the experience, long past the point where any other animal would have left them behind. And when we turned that cooperation outward, it became lethal. Wolves hunt in packs, but it's instinct, the same play every time. Humans hunted in packs with assigned roles and a plan spoken out loud. You drive the animal toward the drop. You wait at the bottom. You cut off the escape. You use language to run a strategy no single animal could ever coordinate. And then you add distance to it. Around 400,000 years ago in Germany, someone crafted wooden throwing spears, balanced, aerodynamic, designed to kill from 30 feet away. Read that again. 30 feet. Suddenly, the soft, slow creature could hurt you before you ever got close enough to use your fangs. A predator's entire existence is built on the assumption that prey can't fight back. Humans broke that assumption, and then they broke the predators. 5 humans with spears and a plan could kill an ambush cat, and they did. And then, around 50,000 years ago, the story flips completely. Humans pour out of Africa and into Europe, Asia, Australia, the Americas, and everywhere they arrive, the giants start vanishing. The saber-tooths, gone. The cave lions, gone. The short-faced bears, the mammoths, the giant sloths, the terror birds, gone, continent by continent, within a few thousand years of humans setting foot on each one. Scientists still argue over exactly how much of that was us, and how much was a changing climate, but the pattern is impossible to miss. The animals that had hunted us for 2 million years disappeared right behind the arrival of the thing they used to eat. We didn't just survive the predators, we outlasted every single one of them, and we watched them go extinct while we spread across the entire planet. Here's the truth underneath all of it. Evolution handed every predator one gift and locked them into it. Speed, strength, jaw force, claws. A saber-tooth was a perfect machine for being a saber-tooth, and that was all it would ever be. Evolution handed humans something else entirely: adaptability. We couldn't outrun the bear, so we threw rocks at it from a distance it couldn't close. We couldn't outbite the hyena, so we surrounded it with a plan. We couldn't see in the dark like the lion, so we made fire and dragged daylight into the night. Every single weakness forced an invention, and every invention got taught to the next generation, and those inventions stacked century after century until we became something no predator could ever evolve fast enough to fight. For 2 million years, you were prey. Your ancestors hid in trees and froze in the dark and lost their children to things with claws and could do nothing but grieve and remember. But they could remember. They could learn from the death of one and hand that lesson to everyone who came after. And across a long enough stretch of time, that one advantage, learning and teaching and caring for each other, turned the weakest large animal on Earth into the last one standing. Every predator that hunted the Tong child is extinct. The skull, with its talon marks, is still studied today.